Nation. Welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown with yours truly and the always beautiful and lovely Jen Santee, aka, as you can see up top up there, at Jen Santee 1890. You can find her on X. You can find me at Renegade Report 1. It's another Friday. We do a show every Friday since we started, doing these shows regular 2-3 times a week since the middle of November, I believe it was. So we appreciate everybody joining us. It's been a lot of fun. We got our hands on some more numbers, some more information. There's a form I believe it's called the 990 form that nonprofits are supposed to fill out or have to fill out. It's just a way for the IRS and the SEC and all the kind of people involved to keep nonprofits in check, to keep them from abusing their powers and run rampant and stuff. One of the things that come out of it, we get to find out exactly how much our boy John Swofford is still getting paid here as we're in 2024. So I thought that was pretty funny with not very much going on here smack dab in the middle of the off season. I went ahead and put the phone number in the comments. I'm going to throw the banner up now. So if you have any questions or anything you're wondering about, any specific position group, the ceiling of any specific player, new transfer, freshman, Ricky Knight, who are just showing up on campus, the number will be up there. But I just figured this would be a good way to start. I'm curious what Jen thinks about it. But David Hale was the first person who started posting this stuff this morning and piqued my interest. But per ACC's 990 form, John Swofford was paid $2,559,700 in the 2023 season. So that's this past season. This year, or the year before that, the 2022 season, $3,222,365. So it looks like about $700,000 more than he made the last year. But real curious to see what he makes in 2024. And the part that makes it so funny is just kind of the timing of all of it and what we've talked about, and him kind of just ensuring his golden parachute and his kind of sailing off into the sunset with a happy retirement. It's like 2021, somehow, some way, he talked to ESPN into giving this thing a few more years to push it down the road till February of 2025 to look at this contract. He somehow made that happen, and he retired. That's when his payments start. That's when they bring in Jim Phillips, whatever the damn guy's name is.
Doesn't matter.
But I likened it to the Bobby Bonilla contract, who is a guy who played baseball way back in the day, like the 90s. I'm not even sure how deep his career went. It might have been the early 2000s. But the guy has been collecting like a $2 million paycheck from the New York Mets, I believe, for 20 years. And I believe it goes even it's not even over with. I think it goes almost to 2030. But I'm just curious. I'm not sure the length or when it ends, but it's pretty funny to see him still getting $2-3 million a year from the ACC. I'm curious how much Jim Phillips is getting.
And that's just his retirement, right?
That's what's reported on the form.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, imagine that's what you get to not work. Imagine that's what you get to not work at the job you used to suck really bad at. Like, you get paid that much to just continue to just, one, not work, and two, you suck so bad at your job, you now probably get paid more a year to stay home from it.
Without a doubt. We've also got some more numbers that have come out. We already knew. We reported on here that Adam Fuller is making about $2 million a year. I knew that was elite. I knew that was a big number. It was kind of the number that pretty much everybody kind of knew was the answer if we were going to hold on to him. But when you stack that up with kind of around the country, Blake Baker at LSU is number one on the list with $2.5 million. After that is Michigan's Wink Martindale, Pete Golding at Ole Miss, and bam, there's Adam Fuller, tied for fourth with Glenn Schumann at Georgia at $2 million, and also Al Golden at Notre Dame, and D'Antone Lynn at USC. So pretty elite company there. But yeah, just pretty crazy stuff that John Swofford is still banking while all this craziness is going on. I guarantee you, when you you find out who the North Carolina alumni are that don't disagree with all this, and who's pushing on the board of trustees, trying to keep them from filing with everything they got. You just know he's behind the scenes out there, somewhere pushing the buttons.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just I've never seen anything where you can just fail up in life as much as like some of these people get to. College coaches, former conference chairs, and news anchors. I mean, you just get to fail up, make more money after getting fired. I've never seen anything like it. And those are I mean, name me another profession, maybe meteorologist, where you can be wrong at your job all the time and nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's just crazy.
Yeah. There's no doubt. He did good in the beginning, but the end, there was nothing to it. Is there anything that stuck out to you this week? Anything you've been wanting to talk about or been on your mind when it comes to FSU football? Anything that got on your nerves on the timeline?
No, I mean, not really. Just, I guess there's still just the usual as well. The recruiting isn't up to, but call me about recruiting, I guess, in August, but I don't know. Recruiting is so dull to me, and I know everybody loves it. I really do. I get it. I used to love it too, but your heart will get broken, and you'll get over it too very quickly.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Again, guys, that phone number is up there, 850-495-1906. If you have any questions or there's anything you guys are wanting to talk about here. I see my guy, Ramil Hayes, in the chat. Went to school with him. We graduated together 09 at Milton High School. What's up, Ramil? But yeah, again, the number's up on the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions or topics outside of that, unless Jen has something, I'll just start going through the roster and ranting about the team again. Guys, again, it is the middle of the season, or the middle of the off season, the dead middle of it. So,
I think the Jaden Rashada stuff is very funny. I think I was listening to a couple of different podcasts. I listened to one that was kind of funny today, where it was Miami fans were very grateful that Rashada had flipped and that they were outbid. And they said that Florida only outbid them because they were really scared of watching Miami on the up, So yes, you're absolutely correct. Florida got themselves in the middle of this lawsuit just so they could keep the quarterback killer Mario Cristobal from getting a talent like Jaden Rashada. Are you kidding? No. I don't think Florida really intentionally put themselves in this lawsuit situation to keep Miami from getting a good quarterback, but that's just funny the way fans will spend things. That was an interesting thing I heard today, but that lawsuit is kind of interesting. I don't know how much you've read about it or listened to it, but one, I guess the father says he has Napier on tape or something.
Yeah, I haven't read that anywhere, but I've heard that said by people.
Oh, I mean, I was listening to it on a podcast today, with Florida people on there. So,
heck yeah, that's crazy. If they got him dead to rights, woo.
But the thing is in the lawsuit attached, there's no attachments to it where they would say
it's a two-party state, so it would have to have been either in a public area, like Mad Social or something, on a recruiting visit or something that.
Well, they didn't attach any declarations to it. So they said that he was on tape, but nobody attached a declaration saying, yes, this was said to me. So right. I can't say anything like that, but it is kind of interesting. And it's definitely, in a weird way, could this get them out from under Billy Napier without having to pay him if something does come up with this? But then again, Tennessee and Virginia sued the NCAA, and there's really no rules on NIL right now. So what are you going to sue for? What are you going to fire him for? Because he technically didn't do anything illegal as far as the NCAA is concerned.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. I don't know if it's a specific lawsuit or a combination of all the different lawsuits, but the NCAA just rolled out a brand new rule that I saw today. I don't know if I screenshotted it or what, but yeah, going forward, any promises when it comes to from NIL collectives to recruits or any kind of idea of scale of pay once they get on the team is it's considered, what's the word, not permissible in court, not, they're not held to it. It's not what's the word I'm looking here for, Jen? They're not valid. The promises aren't valid. It's just considered like, a spitting game to a girl at a bar or something. You know what I mean? You can't get arrested for fraud for saying, I make $500 million a year. I work at NASA. And then the next day you're like, oh, actually, I'm the janitor. I clean the toilets. She just got played. So that's kind of what the law says. So no more this Jaden Rashada thing moving forward, according to the new rule, could never happen again. So this is Florida getting a little bit of the medicine that Florida State has got the past couple of years with Daryl Jackson, and then now with this 5 reduced scholarships and everything.
Isn't that always the
Alex
way?
Atkins. Now the shoe's on the other foot. The other foot. So is kind of messed up as it is, and I hate it for Florida at the same time. You play those games. You start talking about $10, $13 million, and you're negotiating with a 16, 17-year-old kid about that before he's ever even, when you play, you pay, as my stepdad used to always tell me.
I think we have somebody in the chat, Mike Lee. I think you are right. He did sign something so I think the issue with this case right now is this isn't like a word of mouth. Well, I guess technically it is, but with what he said, he was promised, and it's on tape, that he would get this amount, and then he did sign his letter of intent. So to him, that was the binding signing of the contract. Now,
so if we're going to get deep into it, Mike, you're right. He did sign a contract, but that was all settled way, way, way before he signed the national letter of intent. That was like canceled one side. Either Florida backed out before they signed the final signature, or whatever the case may be. That was December 5th or December 6th. That was all wrapped up. But all 3 of the parties, and that's where it gets fishy. There was 3 or 4 parties involved. There were promises made like, that 13 million isn't going to happen. But look, if you just sign the national letter of intent, Napier's going to make it happen. You're going to get $1 million. Some 500,000 was supposed to come from the Gator Collective. And this thing goes deep. We could go all the way into it. Eddie Rojas at the original Gator Collective, and then it moved to the next one. Okay, now that one's defunct. Now this person, but according to Rashada, what you're talking about, the recording where the promises that were made, that was right there around signing day. That everything's fucked up, but hey, you're going to get $1 million either way. We promise. And then that's how they finagled him to sign it. And then, whoop. So if they have him on that would be great. But it's extremely convoluted. It's not simple and cut and dry.
Yeah, I think because you can't put money offers obviously in a letter of intent. So, to me, it is shady. And if they actually do have him on tape the day he signed that letter of intent that said, if you do sign it, yes, this booster did fall out and they have reneged on this deal. Because in the way I read it, the lawsuit states that they were then told the money would get worked out. It would get done as long as you signed it. As long as you signed that letter of intent, you're going to get the same money we promised you. Please sign today. We need you to sign. This is bad optics. I mean, they went through the whole spiel, and apparently it's on tape. Again, it's questionable to me because there was like no declaration in there. And again, maybe different states, you don't have to put that in there. But technically, if somebody's really stating that they have it on tape or saying that it was said to them, they will file a declaration that, so I guess we'll have to see. But it is interesting to me. And it's not just because it's Florida. For me, you have to imagine that this has happened a couple times before, especially since it just started. If you think some of these schools didn't offer the moon to kids and then were stunned when they agreed to it, I can only imagine like a hometown team. And, the kid may just be like a 3-star or 4-star, like whatever. Maybe it isn't like the 5 stars, but for that school, it is, right? And it's a hometown kid. So I could see this happening. And the other thing I would say is when kids want to start suing for this, and I'm not saying this because I'm blaming the kid at all, but does that open the door for the school then to start suing kids that take collective money and then bounce?
100%. And that's, that's why that NCAA rule came in, to pretty much settle it, which good on them. But, it's just one of those things, too little, too late. That tape, though, you brought up a lot of good points about, yeah, there should be a declaration. There should be something added on in the case. So where is it? And also on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, Florida is not a one-party state. It's a two-party state. So if you're going to record somebody and they don't know about it, you have to have their permission and you have to be willing, unless, again, you're in a public place where there's no expectation of privacy or whatever. So if they were dumb enough to talk about it in the buffet at the Chili's or whatever, and we actually have that, like some of these investigative journalists have here the past 5 or 6 years covering politics and stuff, that would be freaking awesome. So fingers crossed that we get that tape of Billy Napier putting his recruiting pitch and talking about how much money a kid's going to get. But I don't think Billy Napier's that stupid. We'll just cross our fingers that he is, and we get that tape.
I can't imagine he's that stupid. I can't imagine he's that stupid, but I can't imagine, due to some of, and I don't know if any of them are true, but some of the rumors surrounding some of the handlers of Jaden Rashada, I can't imagine them being a little bit more hyperbolic in what they were maybe promised and what they were guaranteed. I'm just saying, I'm not sticking up for Florida here. I'm sticking up for kind of the facts that we do have somebody who went to like 5 different schools. And like, it is a little, I don't know. It's fun.
His situation was really screwed up after,
it is.
After that whole thing fell apart with Miami and then Florida. From his perspective, I mean, Miami was ready to give him $10 million. And then Florida comes out the woodworks with $13 million. And okay, you think you're set up until then. He didn't have much choice. I thought it was cool that he went to Arizona State. He was making a statement, but yeah, he wasn't cut out for that life of being having to be a dog and go through 3 wins and 4-win seasons and climb out of the gutter with a school who don't even know what conference it's going to be in and everything so crazy. So yeah, I don't blame him for going to Georgia. I think it was a good choice
but that's
for him to
almost
get
my
developed
favorite.
And all,
this is my favorite
it's crazy
part.
Looking back at it.
Because Florida fans spent all that time bragging about 63-3, yak. And then their star quarterback that they, offered $13 million to turns them down, doesn't take it because, they couldn't cough up the money. Then he decides to transfer to Georgia, and Kirby signs off on this freaking lawsuit. So y'all have been banging your chest, 63-3, blah, 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 only to have this guy now go play for Georgia. Y'all still root for Georgia? Are y'all still going to do that this year? I just didn't know if y'all were still going to be cucks and be like, go Georgia, or are we over that now that their quarterback is suing your coach?
That is an amazing point. That shit is so funny.
Like, Florida fans I feel like it's being glossed over.
Florida fans have been heavy on that Georgia dick. It's been like every single time, like you said, 63-3, or they try to say SEC, and it's like, hold on, SEC. What's our record in the SEC the past 2 or 3 years? Oh, you're talking about Georgia, your rival. That shit's so funny. They're not cheering for Georgia right now when Rashad is over there, the dude that they just thought was going to be, Jesus for him, walk on water and everything else. But yeah, that is really funny. Another funny thing I saw is Dabo Swinney is continuing to kind of take licks, take body blows. And then we want to get into some Mike Alford comments again here after that. But yeah, Dabo comments. What I thought was so funny is he keeps doubling down. We talked about one of the interviews he had done a couple weeks ago. Well, I saw another interview he did, I believe, either at the beginning of this week or last week. And another, interview, ask him, it's like, look, Dabo, we get you don't want, your whole program to be based on transfers. You're not going to be a Colorado or even a Florida State or Ole Miss. But you don't think there's anybody out there that could make your team better? And he says, look, guys, we're trying. We really are putting out here an effort to evaluate and get in here and shop the pool. Guys, if what we got is better, but we're not going to do it. We're going to continue doing what we do. He says, I went to every single coach on my staff, offense, defense, special teams, every one of them. And I went to everyone. I said, is there anybody you need out of the portal? They said, no, coach, we're fine. We're better than fine. We don't need nobody out of the portal. Now, Jen, you tell me, what are the odds you think in Division I football, a team that was, back-to-back playoffs, national championships, all these things, they carried the ACC for the whole time FSU was down, did all these great things. You think every single coach on that staff was like, piss on that, Dabo. There's not a single person in the portal that we would like. I mean, literally, 36% of the draft this past year was transfers. And you want to tell me there wasn't one in there that would have made Clemson better?
So I'm a big proponent of it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think Clemson's shown that it's a little broken right now. I think they've shown it's a little broken. No, it's not like to the depths of like Miami, right? I mean, they're not going to be winning 5 to 6 games, right, a year. They're not going to be celebrating, doing videos celebrating losses. I don't see Clemson doing that. But I do see Clemson fans, and I do see Dabo, if this keeps going in like an 8-9 win season, which I could see happening, because even though their high school recruiting isn't terrible, it's not Georgia. It's not what they were doing during those years where they were back-to-back playoffs. They were top 5. Somewhat. They were doing a little.
The recruiting's bad. It's just that if your recruiting isn't Georgia or to a level of Alabama, even Ohio State, who isn't quite Georgia, but they're recruiting better than Clemson the past 5-6 years.
Mm-hmm.
They still sign a top 10 portal class. Alabama still top 10 level portal class. So it's like, it's so hard. Georgia has lost half of their 2022 high school class, just like everybody else did.
Yeah.
But they signed 30 blue chips. Yeah. That's never been Clemson's thing. Clemson's thing has always been smaller classes with like really good hit rate, signing super quality guys, Clemson dudes, and keeping them. They're not the quality guys that are going to turn the roster. And it's just like, you're right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they're not going to fall off a cliff. I don't. 8-9 wins would be like the floor for me. I agree. They're going to have a chance to compete this year. They've just got to look in the mirror and decide: do we want to be, like one of these teams like NC State before the portal that just, you're good. You got a chance to really compete once every 3 years, once every 4 years, and it's a cycle like that. Because if you just rely on high school talent and you're not Georgia, that's what it's going to be in this day and age. Because you're putting freshmen and sophomores, or whatever the case may be, even if it's somebody that's been developing that don't have a ton of experience, you're putting up against a guy. Well, Florida State going to go get an NFL dude to put in the slot immediately. And it's like, whatever, Keon Coleman, Braden Fisk, whatever the case may be. And if not, you get a case where it's heavier with high school talent like this year that Florida State got. Okay, well, they got a bunch of sophomores, George. These kids don't got a bunch of experience. Yeah, but what were they in high school? You're stacking blue chips from the previous class. All of a sudden, Florida State's class from 2022, once you start backlogging all the dudes we add year over year that were stars from that lineup, it's not a Florida State Clemson thing. It's just kind of the shape of football. And you're always looking for that edge. And you've seen it. You saw it with Jimbo Fisher. We watched it in real time. We watched him take it with it to Texas A&M. You just got to either adapt, evolve, or whatever, or die. But I agree. It's not going to be an overnight just falling apart. But the Clemson fans that are there, like clowering, hoping to like get back to a dominant, like we're going to go and have a chance to win this whole thing. Like the talent level, it isn't there. It'd take a couple years to kind of get there. And they would probably argue with me at Florida State it isn't. I would argue, yes, it is. It still needs to get a lot better before we can be a dominant, talk about dynasties and all that stuff. We still got to get to the mountaintop. We haven't got there yet. But when you look at the line, it's only pointed one direction. The hardest thing is to maintain it once you get there.
I also think, if you look at just even Dabo's, which never really hurt him before, it is hurting him a little now. His approach to recruiting, where when kids, if they want to go on a visit and they're committed, they get dropped. I think nowadays that is a very unpopular tactic to use because, it's very player friendly these days. You lose in the court of public opinion very quickly when you do something like that. I think I understand Dabo is Dabo. He has his mom write his name on his best sweatshirt on Saturday game days, and he gets real excited and gets in that bus and runs down the hill. But at the end of the day, he isn't adapting very well. And his old school tactic, if it was still working, would be fine. But it's clearly not, and it's not up to the standards that, by the way, he created. Because Clemson was nobody before him. So he can whine about fans and stuff being upset, that they're winning 8-9 games. But, sir, you're the one who created those standards. So I don't know what you want those fans. Do you want the fans to quit caring? Because I assure you, you don't. If the fans quit caring, your money runs out. Like, what are you doing?
No, that's a perfect point. Like, yeah, it's not going to ever go back. You raised the floor and the ceiling. So if they get rid of you, they're not ever going to hire Dabo Swinney again. It's never going to be the special teams guy who turned into the wide receivers coach.
You're staticky. Sorry, I can't even get in Twitter to text it to you. All right, guys. So, so on my point about Dabo, I think for Clemson, what do y'all think? I don't know. I think it hasn't really hurt him up until this last year or two with the portal. And I don't know. I think it's hurting him now, and I think his fan base has turned on him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's not completely there, but it's like it's reaching a tipping point. You're starting to see more and more people. But, yeah, you have to adapt. There's nobody that said, hey, it couldn't work without the portal. But the answer would have been for Dabo Swinney, if he wanted to keep his same mantra, his same thing about not churning the roster, about all these things, he was going to have to turn the volume of his high school recruiting up another notch. He was going to have to figure out a way to take 30 guys and it be, 80% blue chip every year. Figure out what he's got to do with the NIL, to pay for people's scholarships, have guys be preferred walk-ons, gray shirts, whatever the case may be. But he hasn't gone that route. If anything, there's been, lesser, not even as good of recruiting class. We've talked a lot about how, these recruiting classes aren't always as good as the sum of their parts. Like, yeah, it's a pretty damn good data set, but especially the past 4 years with the portal and the way things have worked, less and less reliable. And we saw Jimbo Fisher have 4 or 5 top 5 classes at the end that were they weren't even top 10 classes. And that's the same thing with Dabo. He was bringing in just NFL wide receiver after NFL wide receiver. Been a lot of busts. Been a lot of guys who haven't been really that guy for him the past couple of years. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the quarterbacks he was bringing in. Look at his running backs that he was bringing in, defensive line. He was always real strong in the trenches there. And it was such a jealous mark for me. I'm not going to lie. In those first, the last years of Jimbo and when Dabo was bringing it up, I was looking at some of those classes, very jealous, very jealous. Their DTs always seem to just be outrageously good. Their linebackers. And then, as some Wilmer brings up, he's absolutely right. He missed on a bunch of hires. He lost his steady core coaches. If anybody doesn't remember, Dabo was almost fired after his third year at Clemson. He was almost fired. He had to hire all these new staffs. It was, and then he kept Venables, Scott, and who was the other guy? Tony Elliott, right? They were there for years. The moment those guys left, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's very weird. And we saw it happen with Bobby Bowden. I'm not ever going to compare Dabo Swinney to Bobby Bowden, not in my lifetime. We all know Dabo's not even allowed to call plays. So this isn't the same thing. But I think you kind of see it happen when the game passes somebody by. And I do think for Dabo being so young, it's weird that it is passing him by, but it's for sure passing him by right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. He's going to have to answer the call, whether it's, pick up the portal gun or start in precinct high school recruiting. But I think he's just at a level where when it comes push or shove, he'll just retire But people are finally starting to get some questions. I saw one where somebody said, "Did you see the article saying that Mike Norvell was going to be a coach at South Carolina or something?" Guys, I saw a headline or I saw a tweet or something. No, I did not give the time of day to click on that, because we'll save that for the row show or something like that.
Can somebody send that to me, please? Because I need that in my life, like ASAP, because I don't have that and I haven't seen it.
Yeah, definitely not. I saw the tweets, but no, I didn't read that article.
Why in the world would we need wait a minute. Our head coach would go to our farm school to be a head coach for what reason? What reason?
Exactly.
You don't leave the major leagues to go, manage AAA baseball. All right. Like, that's not happening. Sorry. South Carolina. Okay.
Without a doubt. I saw another question asking me about the number of offensive linemen. Here it goes. George, are you hearing that in the 2025 class, we would take up to 5 offensive linemen? Absolutely. I wouldn't stop it at 5. I think that's the most likely when you look at it. But yeah, we've been talking about this for as long as this channel has been a thing, and even, going back close to a year before that on the website. This 2025 class is going to be all about the trenches, especially offensive line class. It's going to be bar none, far and away, the best line class that Alex Atkins and Mike Norvell has brought in. We've already got Solomon Thomas, the number 1 inside the offensive lineman in the nation, committed, on top of, who else? Who's the other guy that just trended this way? Oh, Peyton Joseph, who was previously committed to Florida, decommits from there. He's trending to Florida State. He's like the number 3 interior offensive line in the nation. You got like Max Buchanan, who's got some trending balls our way. So yeah, it's going to be a big, big class we've made. I believe Dontrell Glover just cut his list down to a top 4 recently. We made Zaire Addison's top 8 recently. And forgive me if I'm forgetting names. There's a ton of guys out there that we're in it for. I know Mason Short's another one, but I think a lot of people have him trending somewhere else in Georgia or something like that. But yeah, it would not. If they sign less than 4 or 5 guys, yes, I would be super surprised. But anything less than that, yeah. We all know about the bet that our guy Chris with Spear Addicts has with Seymour on Twitter for, like, I believe it's $2,500 or something like that. That Florida State brings in a top 5 offensive line class. I don't have a bunch of cash on it, but if that shows you how confident we are that FSU has a special offensive line class, this is it. And now there's a lot of people talking about, oh, you're getting all these official visits, you're making all these top classes, all these things like that. Well, in a second, I'm going to read you a stat that shows how it converts. But also, I'd add, it's not just recruiting, it's not just official visits, it's not just NIL money. We have a season coming up here in 2024, just like 2023 helped us with last year, and it's going to be we're really going to get more dividends from the 13-0, 13-1 season this year than we did last year. But where the offensive line is going to help is that's going to be the strategy of this team. That is going to be the core of this offense. This offense is the offensive line running the football. Lawrence Toafili and Roydell Williams behind the interior of that offensive line, running behind the left side of that offensive line with Darius Washington. And yeah, folks are going to want to come play in this offense. They're going to see DJU have the best year he's had of his entire career, and they're going to see just a bunch of that gap scheme, excuse me. What's the word I'm looking for? That counter scheme. They're going to see that counter scheme and all the different variations they have off of it and all the different looks out of it. So just get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's not going to be anything like, what you saw last year, where there were just a whole lot of throws outside and one-on-one matchups where we had the bigger guy. It's going to be a lot of scheming guys open, a lot of run, and play action. And there's going to be dudes streaking wide open down the field. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, Josh Petty is another guy. He said, depending on what site you read, he's tackle. Some say he's interior offensive line. The ones who do have him at interior offensive line have him at like the number 2 interior offensive line. So depending on how you want to look at it, Florida State has like the top 3 interior offensive linemen in the entire nation trending. So we'll see what happens. It's a long way to go. There's been rumors about flips on Thomas, but it just goes with the nature of the business. When you're going to sign a top player at his position, you're going to keep getting wooed over and over again. And Florida State's not going to keep pushing that number up. They're not going to like negotiate with terrorists. Is I think somebody said on War Chant one time that got me all pissed off, but you know, whatever. I guess, you know, the longer you get into it, the more you can see how they would say that because, you know, some of these guys, particular guys, just they're never satisfied. It's not terrorism. They just want affection. So it's just what it is. I won't say any names, but you see the guys every cycle who sign. And then, oh, you know, rumors start coming around with Florida, but then we get them for an official visit and everything's good. But then a week later, bam, there were more rumors of Florida. Mike Norvell, the staff, they just, whatever. At a certain point, they're like, all right, if you want to go, go. We're not going to do anymore. So I'm not saying that he's that guy, and hopefully Solomon Thomas sticks with us the whole way. Just saying, if you lose a guy, it ain't the end of the world. And the haters out there, just wait for you to lose one guy, and it don't matter. We could have 5, 6 guys in this offensive line class, but if one person doesn't end up in it, they'll be sitting there. Woo! I told you so. Look, I told you so. That shit gets on my nerves.
Look, if somebody wants to decommit and go play for 4-win Florida or Mario Cristobal, then okay, be a loser for the rest of your life. I can't help you. So that is what it is.
Right.
Enjoy delivering my pizzas going forward. Have a good day.
Oh man, did you see that video on? I think it was on Twitter, but it's like it's one of those punching bags. Somebody slipped a pair of tits on it.
Yes,
and there was a guy like hitting the mitts. Chris retweeted it and was like, "Whoa, somebody's got a dummy of Mario Cristobal on there."
Yes.
Hitting the mitts. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I wish I would have thought of that joke because that was hilarious. Oh man! After this, y'all have to go check out Chris. He's got a call-in show over there on Spirit. They had something come up. It was just his anniversary earlier in the week. They're trying to get moved to their new place, their new hometown, and some stuff. I'll leave it up to them to tell you where and when and all that if that's something they're going to make public. But anyways, y'all just go check them out. They'll be going right after us. But again, the phone number's at the bottom of the screen. You can call, text in. I've been trying to keep up with the chat to answer some questions, but again, kind of a slow time as we try to gear up, and we've got some real exciting stuff and content and guests coming up here the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to be doing a lot more work kind of with local high school blue chips and different high schools I've been talking to and stuff. So we're going to have some fun content with you and all kind of good stuff. But again, if you have any questions, now's the time. Speak now, forever hold your peace. If we have about another 15 minutes before we hit 7 o'clock Central Time, when we'll probably cut this thing off.
Do you have big plans holiday weekend, George?
Holiday? What's the holiday? Memorial Day? Is that what it is? Yeah, no big plans. Just big plans for the site that I'm going to be working on. That's what I'm going to be doing.
All right.
But I know you've got big plans coming up next Monday.
No, not really. No.
You've got there's a special day coming up Monday for sure. No? You're going to make me say it?
No, supposedly the calendar changes for me, but I am not acknowledging it at all.
She said, screw y'all. I'm not even, start asking me about birthdays and shit, I'm off the show. She's done.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, y'all definitely have to come Monday, and I'm not going to invite and announce anything about her show, but it should be a special Renegade roast, by far the most special one to date for her birthday, and also hopefully a cool guest there as well. So definitely come check us out and hang out with the Renegade Report on Memorial Day.
Oh yes, 21. Yes. How did you know? K-Dog? I was only gonna be 21. Well, happy birthday, Tomcat, to you tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not a big birthday person. It's not very fun. You kind of look forward to them, and then it just never goes the way you think they're gonna go. So
Well, as we've got a couple minutes to kill here, I don't usually shout out or too much do other FSU sites stuff or tweets or anything, but you got to give credit where it's due. I thought this was pretty cool. Zach Blowstein did a tweet, and what he did is he looked at the blue chip ratio of the summer official visits, something that I would never really think to even look at when breaking down recruiting year over year. But when you look at it in 2022, 6 of the 17 official visits came from blue chip recruits. That makes up to a 35.3% blue chip ratio. And you think, oh, well, it's just official visits. That won't translate. But when you look at the 22 class, yeah, I mean, it's not that far off when you look at what we've got on the roster. You come to the next year, 2023, blue chip ratio, 5 of 13. So a better ratio at 38.46%, but less volume, one less blue chip. So yeah, you went up 3% this past year. Obviously, our best class to date. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We signed 27 blue chips, one of which was a walk-on quarterback that didn't even count towards the recruiting ranking. 10 transfers. Long story short, 2024, you had 15 blue chips of 28 total visitors in the summer for 53.57%, 15.1%. That's the jump you got year over year in blue chip ratio. The significance of that, you ended up your high school class was almost 70%. I believe it's like 69.7% blue chip ratio was our 2024 class. It ended up finishing like 12th or 11th or whatever the case may be, but very small with 16 blue chips and only 9 3-stars. That 70% blue chip ratio, that's up there top 5, top 6 level. That's very good. Early look at 2025 blue chip ratio thus far, 70.45%. And that's a 16% jump over last year. So I just like that tweet. I really wanted to just put that out there to illustrate for guys like, Josh Newberg came out the other day and said Florida State didn't have any uptick in recruiting after going 13-0 and doing this and that and everything else. As hard as it is to see the forest for the trees, just wait, guys. It's coming. It's just now almost June. It's May 24th. We're exactly 3 months away from August 24th and FSU football in Dublin, Ireland. But yeah, June, shit's going to hit the fan. We're going to have a lot of these shows going to be talking about official visits and all the different moves in recruiting. And then July, we'll probably have 10, 15 commits at bare minimum like we did last year. So yeah, just buckle up. And it's like really about to go through the roof, even though everybody tries to say it isn't. It isn't. It is. Mike Norvell's high school recruiting is catching up with the just excellence and absolute top of the nation work that he's done in the portal. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I can't wait to see it, come together on the field as we have, so far. It's going to be fun. Year 5 on the field is going to be a lot of fun. Just can't wait, man.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited about it. And K-Dog, I agree with you too. Like 22 class to a 12 seems like an improvement to me, but I don't know. I only do math for a living, so I can't claim that a lower number is better than a higher number, when you're doing rankings. So I don't know. We could all be wrong about that. Maybe 12 is worse than 22. In some states, 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4 anymore. So I don't know.
It is a giant uptick for sure. I think the thing, and we'll close this off. I can do a rant on this to close off the show. And this is the issue that people, and I won't put names on anybody, even though I already did say Newberg earlier, but this is the issue that people have with recruiting. They say me and Chris are full of shit, and James and everybody that tries to tell them that. Things have changed. Okay, Georgia, as we said earlier, is the only person that can just pretty much ignore the portal if they wanted to, even though they don't. They will still get a quarterback or an offensive tackle if it's worth it for them, like we saw with them grabbing Jaden Rashada. Recruiting has changed. High school is not your be-all, end-all. You don't have to get every single player from high school. You don't have to grab a certain specific number of players at every position because, okay, well, we just don't know. 3 years from now, we could have 3 injuries and need a 300-pound guy defensive end who maybe isn't quite good enough, or yada yada yada. You're not taking these bodies, you're not filling out the roster and really having to do this math of, okay, we got to get this guy so that we'll be all right 4 years down the road. You're able to fill holes. You don't have near as many rebuildings. You don't have one specific group of offensive line, 5 offensive linemen that need to come together in one class and need to just play together and stick together the whole way through. Is it amazing if that happens? It would be great, but you don't have to. But what you do have to do, and what's great about the portal, if you can optimize it, if you can do what Derek Ray and Mike Norvell have done, is you can make the absolute most of what's available in any particular year. So if in 2024's recruiting class, they have DBs coming out the wazoo, and they're just absolute stud DBs everywhere, it's one of the best DB classes you're ever going to see, that's where you put your revenue. That's where you put your resources. That's where you really go to town. And you sign this amazing wide receiver class and DB class, excuse me. Where the talent is, that's where the talent was last year for FSU to go after, wide receiver and DB. Defensive line, offensive line, it was just not a great year. Meanwhile, they looked ahead and they knew what 2025 was at the offensive and defensive line. So this year, that's where the emphasis is. That's, where they are going to hammer to get some young kids to grow and develop. They knew this whole offensive line was coming back. Florida State is going to be old. We are so experienced at the offensive line, even though people pretend like we're not going to get no better. That's a whole nother rant to go on. But high school recruiting has become different. It's all become different. People act like I say it's trash and it doesn't count anymore. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's maybe 70% instead of 100%. And if you optimize and you get the absolute best of what you can without signing a bunch of extra bodies out of high school, to me, that's prudent. 20 blue chips is prudent. That way you can sign 10 to 12 transfers. You don't have 10 guys drafted, 9 of which are transfers. You don't have 36% of the draft be transfers if you're not providing some kind of great value, some giant value. So if you can do what you do, if you can recruit like Dabo did for 10 years at Clemson from 2012 to whatever 8 years that it was at that elite level, if you can do that, if you can hold on to the good guys while signing those smaller elite classes, if you can do that, plus sign 5 to 10 guys that are going to go to the NFL as a portal every year, I mean, you're just not going to be able to keep up because that's on top of it. So, yeah, I just lose me with needing to sign 30 guys to keep up with a ranking system that is defunct and old, and we can talk about it from 30 different angles. And I'm all open to questions if you don't agree with me. But Jeff Hill, boom, jumps in with a $20 super chat right here close to the end of the show. We appreciate you, bro. He says, not worried about recruiting because I know we have the best coach in the state. We're going to win the conference again, make the playoffs, and Miami will finish their record, if they're lucky, with 8 wins, and I'm being nice. I love it, man. I don't disagree with Jeff. I think you are nice. Appreciate that super chat, man. And that was, he did a good job of settling me down there. But yeah, it is what it is. Y'all don't have to believe me. Y'all can pull this shit up and make fun of me when I'm wrong through 2 or 3 years down the road. But I'll continue to say it. I'll put a link up with one of the first articles I wrote when I started my site. I started it like November 28th, December 5th, I believe, of 2022. I wrote an article that Mike Norvell and Derek Ray see ahead of a curve in college football that the rest of the country, they can't even see the curve. I know I've said that 100 times on here, but it proved itself on the field in the 22 season and then in the 23 season. And people want to act like it's a flash in the pan, like Mike Norvell did this thing where he built everything to a crescendo that is now toppled after 2023, but it's simply not what happened. You just lose the Jersey guys. You use the guys that none of these fuckers gave any time of the day. Jordan Travis was garbage. Keon Coleman shouldn't have left Michigan State. Why was he leaving? Johnny Wilson never caught any passes. He was just a blocker. Trey Benson was, damaged goods because he's been injured. He didn't have all his stuff. All these things, all these narratives, that's what it always was until 2023. Then all of a sudden, you're signing mercenaries. You listen to that Carl Reed or some of these other jackasses talk about how Florida State's class is, and you could tell they never watched a single snap. They're just reading, clickbait, this and that. and you bring up Miami, you bring up all the different teams. It's just the hit rate. It's just what Norvell has done and Ray has done as far as keeping the best players, letting the shit walk. I'm not trying to, that's bad. I'm not trying to call anybody mean. There were some shit like bad people or whatever that left early, but now the roster's to a level to where it's some really good people leaving. And you see him give him a pat on the butt and wish him well. And there's a lot of people that I have and I still root for that have left. It's just a beautiful thing what they're doing. It's not recognized by all these recruiting services. They get really defensive when you talk to them about it. But yeah, what he's doing is elite. I don't give a damn what anybody says. When you add together the high school and the portal recruiting and the way he does it and the guys that he gets from high school actually pan out, they stick. They aren't problems. You don't have all these speeding and reckless driving and DUIs. You can choose who you want to be. It would be really nice to be Georgia. They have issues, but I damn sure don't want to be Texas A&M with all their top 5 recruiting classes. I don't want to be Miami with all their top 5 recruiting classes. I don't even want to be Alabama, losing a great coach like Nick Saban and being in a certain particular situation they are in right now. Earl Little Jr., if he can stay healthy, these Miami people that have been talking crap in these message boards, like, they don't realize, like, there's not a receiver in the ACC that's going to be able to get off of him in press coverage. Like, in the slot, are you kidding me? Like, he's going to be a freak. Ventrell Cypress, Azaria Thomas.
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure I saw some after loss celebration videos that said differently about Miami players. Like, I feel like, didn't they have, yeah, they've got the best wide receiver, the best cornerbacks, because their cornerbacks shut down Keon Coleman. They're really good. So I don't know, George. I think you're really, I can't even say it with a straight face. Sorry.
No,
I'm being a jerk.
That's funny.
I'm being a jerk. My bad.
Oh, her shames. They deserve it. I don't think I missed any questions. We're almost to the end. Unless there's something I've left out, something you want to hear Rand about. Like I said, there's not a ton going on. We're just, wanted this little fan interaction, have some fun, cover the little thing with the ACC 990s getting revealed and the different things. If you have any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace, as we have just a couple minutes left. And yeah, the truth hurts, but sometimes we just got to let them know how it is around here.
The QB from Melton. Is that the Williams kid, the one with the broken arm?
Yeah,
or
I
Brown?
haven't heard of Emory Williams transferring. I think he stuck it out.
Yeah, I think he stuck it out. I think he has surgery. I don't think he has the ability to play until probably August. I think his arm was like broken in half, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly. I think it was his elbow, like a dislocated elbow. I could be wrong exactly.
I thought it was like a severely broken arm, and
he's a true freshman, so he either redshirted last year or he'll be able to redshirt this year. He'll be just fine, and he's got all the talent in the world.
Yeah,
he could transfer and be all right, or he could stay there. I'm not sure, but yeah, as of now, he's still a Hurricane, unfortunately. I hate it when a Milton kid
goes to Miami. That will probably change, because we were also told Ja'Cory Brown was going to be like the end all be all, and his ass is over there at UCF.
Yep, It is funny how things happen. And everybody's been mentioning FSU. Shout out to FSU baseball, moving on, getting another win. It's a beautiful thing. Softball, I know, is unfortunately ran against the wood chipper that is Oklahoma softball. So it's like, man, they'll probably make it to the national championship yet again. But somebody said Emory played in the spring game. So, okay, I didn't even realize that. So he's already back to playing. So good for Emory.
Oh, my God. Did he get to play in that spring
Definitely
game?
Pulling for you, buddy. But what was that, Jen?
Oh, did he get to play in that spring game that was like at the high school soccer field that sat 50 people? Do you think they actually sold out a game? I don't know. I think they could only sit 50 at it. So, or maybe it was 150. Who knows? We don't know if there was enough people in the stands to fill it up. I don't know.
Yeah, that was fun for sure.
That's not surprising that he played in the spring game and nobody knew about it, because 500. Oh, so sorry. Woo. I guess if Only 100 people sit in those 500 seats. Did he play in the spring game? We don't know. If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to see it, did it happen?
Right, exactly. All right, well, you guys have been great. It's time for us to get out of here. We will see you guys on Sunday for the regular Renegade Rundown, and then Monday for the Renegade Roast. So stay tuned. We love you all, and as always, it's go Florida State and F everything else. So we'll leave you guys with a little bit of my guy Trublyfe and a little bit of a poster from Jen and Trublyfe. Tiny Hat CEO and their new show, The Renegade Roast. And we'll see you next time.
Hey, man. This FSU versus everybody. Let's go. First off, fuck Bama in the roll tide. Fuck Tuscaloosa in every city that's close by. Bitch ass hillbilly redneck fans. Auburn almost caught y'all slacking like dress hands. Michigan trash, they ain't got a damn chance. Only Wolverine I respect is X-Man. Sheen ass coach got exposed, still in plays. Damn right I'm bitter, y'all sweeter than lemonade. Texas ain't shit to rave about. The Longhorns only good at a steakhouse. Had y'all like number 3, I was like, no way. Y'all lost to Oklahoma, which means y'all just okay. And Washington not important. Y'all be some ducks acting like that's vital as an organ. If we played y'all, we kick that ass Chuck Norris. Y'all stay boring. Only thing in that bitch is a forest. Let's set the record straight. Fuck your team if it ain't Florida State. 13-0, undefeated. Damn, what more it take? Denied our presence. That should be a crime. They jealous. Probably get in if the Gators wasn't violent. Miami better not say nada. Last time they won a championship, food stamps had paper dollars. Shout out to FAMU, that's fam too.